So we're here to talk through this TomTom puzzle by Ashish Kumar. Theme is 1 versus 1000, and those two values look pretty interesting. The 1000, for instance, is going to have to factor into 2 to the third and 5 to the third, and that could mean there are 2s and 4s somewhere in the cages to get that 2 factor in, and there'll be 3 5s. There'll be 3 other 5s in the grid, but 3 5s are in that 1000 cage. The one that feels much more constrained is the small number, and so let's actually think about that and think at the start that with the largest value like a 6, you can't have this be a subtraction. Even if you could fill in digits like this, that value would be 0. The smallest that's actually a valid subtraction looks to be -2, far from 1. And so instead what you're going to get is one of the numbers is going to have 2 potential factors, and I think what that means is a 4 or a 6 are the big number in this grid. Somewhere else in the grid we have a 2 and a 3, and then the remaining digits are 1s. That's the only way I see to get a total division of 1, is we're going to have 4 values of 1, which will cancel out, and then these larger numbers that are in the space of 2, 3, 4, 6. And so now putting in things we know for sure into the grid, the 1s have to be on these 4 separate diagonals, and that now leaves behind that the last 1s are going to be up in these cells. And we can ask ourselves, we said that the 1000 was 2 to the third times 5 to the third. That has a total of 6 different factors potential, and with each number contributing at least a factor unless it's a 1, we've got to put in a 1 to make that make sense, and that actually forces all the other values to be 2 and 5. We can't use a 4 in this space because a 4 would be putting 2 factors of 2 into a cell. We would end up with then 4 remaining to go, and we'd have to place more 1s in the grid. So this looks like the sneaky but necessary start for the puzzle that uses the 1 versus the 1000. I want to see what we can think about next, and one thing that looks like it's possible is to look at these corner cages that are valued. And see, for instance, in this row we have 3, 4, and 6 left over, and imagine 6 is somewhere in this cage. Then it can't work with the 4, and it also can't work with the 3 because we need to place another value down here to make that go. So I see 6 up top, 3, 4 left over. That places a 2. This 2 is going to force one cascade at the start, which is this 5, 2, 5. Here, there are 2 more 2s and 1 5 to place in the rest of this cage, so that's going to look like this. And now we're going to have 3, 4, 6 coming through some way. Let's actually look like in this middle row, this is the only place for a 5. These are the only places now for the last 2 5s. We're going to have a 3, 4, 6 in this corner. So that seems most of what we can do now. So we've got to look at this 10. This 10 is going to go similar to the one above. If a 6 were in here, it would have an issue if the 4 were there, and if it were the 3, we'd have to place another 1, which is no good. So the 6 again has to be all the way up top. We got 3, 4, 3, 4. That's a sum of 7, so another 3 gets us to 10. 3, 4 comes over. This corner is now a 6. I'm just going to cancel the 6 here, place a 2 in the cell. We're going to need to get a valid division, and we're also going to need to fill in some of these spaces. This is a 4. The 2 is canceled, so this is a 6. And 2, 2 and 2 means 4 is what's dividing in, so we get 3, 4, 3, 4, 3, 4, 3, 6, and 6, and we finish the puzzle. So a great example of a simple theme. It just took some of these big factors, so 1 that was a big division and 1000 that was a big multiplication, and so if you could figure out how to make those work. And I liked how the setup, while it placed the 1s, didn't actually do anything with the 2s, 3s, 4s, or 6s until the end of the grid when we worked out to the other side. So there's a back and forth from the right to the left, the 1 to the 1000. So elegant puzzle by Ashish, a good example of a moderate difficulty TomTom. Hopefully you learned something about how to break apart these puzzles, and we'll see you again soon.